this video, we are going to learn about the types of runtime exception. As we know, Java defines several types of exception that relate to its various class libraries. Java also allows the user to define their own exception. In Java, the exception can be built-in exceptions as well as user-defined exception. When we say built-in exception, it means the definition of the exceptions which will occur in the program, its definition is already defined in the class library of Java. And in user-defined exception, we have to explicitly define the exception that we want to define in the program. There are different types of built-in exceptions in Java. Built-in exceptions are the exceptions which are available in the Java libraries, and these exceptions are suitable to explain certain error situations. We are going to see the different types of built-in exception with their example. The first one that we are going to see is arithmetic exception. This exception is thrown when an exceptional condition has occurred in an arithmetic operation. When we say arithmetic operation, it means addition, subtraction, multiplication or division between two numbers. Let's see the example of arithmetic exception practically. So this is the program in which the arithmetic exception is going to occur. As we know, the executing code which might arise an exception in the program is inserted in the try block. So here the name of the class is ArithmeticException demo. Then we have defined the main method. In the method we have included the try and catch block. The try block will include the code which might arise an exception. Here we have declared a variable a with the value 30 and variable b with the value 0. Now we are trying to divide a by b. It means we are trying to do the division, that is divide by 0. And then we are printing the result which is stored in C. The catch block is followed by the try block. In the catch block we have placed the name of the exception, that is arithmetic exception, followed by E. E is nothing but the object that will hold all the information about the exception, that is arithmetic exception, that is going to occur in the try block. In the catch block we have a system.out.println statement which says can't divide a number by 0. This line should be printed if the exception is handled by the catch block and the program runs without any error. Let's execute the program. Here we will write Java C space name of the class followed with a dot and then Java. As we hit enter, it shows that the program is compiled successfully. Now we are going to execute the program. For that we have to write down the code Java space name of the class. As we hit enter, it prints can't divide a number by 0. This shows that the program is handling the arithmetic exception successfully. The next exception that we are going to see is null pointer exception. This exception means the null pointer exception is raised when referring to the members of a null object. Here null means that it represents nothing. Let's see the example of null point exception. Here we have defined a class by name NullPointerDemo followed by the main method. In the main method, try followed by the catch block is included. The try block will include a string with name a. Now this a is assigned a value null. As we know, null means nothing. So this a is holding no value right now. In the next line, as we can see, it is written system.out.println in bracket a.char at 0. Here we are trying to access or print the character which is at 0th position from the string A. But since we know the string A does not hold any value, so this statement will definitely throw an exception, and this exception should be handled by some exception handler. So we are writing the catch block followed by the try block. In the catch block we have included the null pointer exception with object E, and if this exception is handled by the catch block, then this line should be printed, that is null pointer exception. Let's try to run the program. For running the program, we again first compile the program with the class name and then run the program with the class name as well. As it was expected, it should print null pointer exception. It is printing the expected output. The third example of runtime exception is StringIndexOutOfBoundsException. This exception is thrown by the string class methods to indicate that an index is either negative or greater than the size of the string. For example, the size of the string Shivaji is 6 and the index will be from 0 to 5. If we are trying to access an index which is negative or greater than 5, then it will throw an exception which is StringIndexOutOfBoundsException. Let's see the example of this exception. Here the name of the class is StringIndexOutOfBoundsDemo, and we should save the program after writing by the name StringIndexOutOfBoundsDemo, that is the name of the class, which includes the main method. In the main method we have to include the try followed by the catch block. In the try block we have defined a string. For defining a string, we have to include the particular string in double quotation. In double quotation we have written Shri Shivaji College, Akola. The length of this full string including the spaces is 28. If we want the exception of StringIndexOutOfBoundsException to arise, we will have to access the character which is either at negative index or an index greater than the size, that is 28. Here we have defined a character C. In this C we are putting a character which is at position 30, and now we are trying to access the character which is at 30th position. Here we are trying to print the character which is stored in C. So in C, the 30th character of the string Shri Shivaji College, Akola should be stored. But since we know the length of the string is 28 and we are trying to access the character which is at 30th position, it will throw an exception which will be StringIndexOutOfBound, and hence to handle this exception we have written the catch block StringIndexOutOfBoundsException space E. This E is the object which will save the information about the exception that is going to occur in the try block, and this information will be given to the exception handler to take the corrective measure. If it is handled, then the output as StringIndexOutOfBoundsException should be printed. Here if we make a simple change in the statement char C equals to a dot char at 25, then this code will print the character L which is at the 25th position. And in the second output we are trying to access the character at 30th position, and this statement arises the exception. It is handled by the exception handler and it gives the output as StringIndexOutOfBoundsException. Rest of the runtime exceptions we are going to see in the next video. A Google form including some questions depending on this video are given. Please go through it and try to solve all the questions. Thank you.